SVS has introduced the SB13-Ultra, a high-powered yet compact subwoofer that is the newest and at $1,599 shipped to your door, the least expensive member of the Ultra series. Being a sealed design, the SB13-Ultra box volume can be kept somewhat small relative to the size of its driver. With a 13.5-inch driver and a 1,000-watt RMS amp, the enclosure is a 17 3/8-inch cube without the included rubber feet. While it's not the absolute heaviest sub on the market, the SB13-Ultra is astoundingly dense for its size, at 91.5 pounds with the grill and 106 pounds with all the packaging. After the standard strained back crushed foot test, I solicited the help of my father to carry it in the house, and made sure to use the rolling technique to free the sub from its double-boxed, cloth-bagged polyfoam cradle. Elder audiophiles may want to elicit the help of an adult grandchild all the way through the room positioning phase. The review sample came in a seamless black oak real wood veneer, which blended nicely with the dark gray oak of my JBL S310-2 speakers. A piano black finish is also available. Both finishes would make prominent display of your new subwoofer desirable. The grill is the SVS standard curved and perforated steel, but with replaceable and more substantial posts than what's found on their lesser models. The grill weighs just shy of 4 pounds by itself, and I have no doubt that it could withstand a golf club attack, much less an errant child's toy or cat's claws. In fact, I was willing to prove it. Right up until I remembered that this sub was only a loaner, provided at no cost for review thanks to Audioholics, and needed to be returned after the review. While the industrial grill seems somewhat at odds with the high-grade cabinet finishes, it certainly will protect your investment. The sub was placed as far into the front left corner of the room as the rear connections would allow. A monoprice coax cable connected to an Onkyo TX SR706 completes the chain. Also in the system are JBL S310-2 mains, an S38-2 center, and Control Now AW surrounds. The system resides in a 13 by 14 foot family room connected to a 19 by 14 foot kitchen with 9 foot plus vaulted ceilings, all adjacent to an open hallway and dining room. In other words, the apparent volume of the room is huge and requires a truly powerful subwoofer to fill it. The 1,000-watt RMS amplifier has few physical controls, with a hard power switch, 2 small toggles that adjust input level and power on mode, and a single silver knob that adjusts all other settings through the LCD screen. Having been disappointed with the unnecessary complexity of digital controls in the past, I wanted to see if SVS had truly created a powerful, yet simple, digital control system. So, I approached this just as any true home theater enthusiast would. I cast aside the quick start guide and just started pushing buttons and twisting knobs. At first, I was greeted with nothing. Power on, check. Twisting knob, check. Pushing knob, check. Flipping switches, check. But no signs of life on the little LED screen. Finally, holding in the silver knob for a second or two brought the beast to life, and I was awash in a soft blue glow. Of course, all this was clearly detailed in the quick start guide. More twisting and pushing reveals controls for volume, phase and 15-degree increments, high and low band pass with frequency and slope, 2 parametric EQs with frequency and Q, and room compensation. Both balanced and unbalanced inputs and outputs are available. That's a lot of options for ultimate flexibility in integrating the SB13-Ultra in singles, pairs, or quads, even if you're running a non-bass managed processor. At the end of the day, the vast majority of us won't need to do much with the fancy digital controls, especially if you read the one-page quick start guide. The SB13 comes shipped with all the standard settings for the typical bass managed setup. Just plug in the power, plug in your signal cable, and run your AVR's auto setup routine. I did have to enter the menu to turn down the sub level by 10 dB, as the generous output of the SB13-Ultra pegged the sub-channel trim on my AVR at negative 15 dB, but that was the only time I needed to twist the fancy silver knob. My personal sub, the SVS PB12NSD, is great and continues to impress me, but with the SB13-Ultra, when I popped in one of my favorite torture tracks, the power blackout scene from the last Mimsy, and stepped on the gas, the phrase that immediately entered my brain was, "Oh, this is what headroom sounds and feels like." I kept creeping up the volume and the SB13-Ultra kept pumping more and more solid bass. When the couch started vibrating and the walls rattled, I stopped the madness, but even then, the SB13-Ultra felt like it had a lot more to give. Where ported subs can create port noise or chuffing, when frequencies around their tuning frequency are played at high volumes. You don't have that in a sealed subwoofer because there are no ports to chuff. With the SB13-Ultra, as I dipped down into the 18 Hz and below range, I not only had usable output evidenced by the kitchen dishes rattling in the cupboards, but there was no distortion from the port or driver. Of course, the benefit of sub 20 Hz response is debatable, especially when you have to put isolation pads on your dishes, as apparently I do. But if you desire bass that can only be felt, the SB13-Ultra can do the trick. Have you heard about the Hunger Games? I have, over and over again. No, I haven't read the books. It's not because I don't think they'll be good. It's just that I've been busy watching movies and critiquing audio equipment. So, I'm very glad they made a movie of the Hunger Games with great sound, a perfect piece of material for this review. A few minutes into the movie, an airship slowly passes overhead, bringing a slow, rumbling drone with it. The SB13-Ultra shook my earth appropriately and conveyed a sense of size that was much larger than my humble family room. However, the SB13-Ultra is not only powerful, but nimble. At the first cannon shot signaling the demise of a tribute, the SB13-Ultra springs suddenly to life with a controlled impact that can be felt in your chest. Katniss flinches, and so do I. Overall, the SB13-Ultra delivered without compromise, and yes, I've started reading the books. On Ani DeFranco's Knuckle Down, Todd Sickafoos's upright bass is featured throughout. Without solid low-end reinforcement, string plucks lack body and definition, and the lowest octaves bleed off, leaving a muddy mess, lost amongst the guitars, piano, and vocals. With the SVS SB13-Ultra, the bass was able to hold its own against the more easily reproduced instruments, remaining an individual instrument and presenting a cohesive mix. Electronic music can be very tricky material. With synthetic and distorted bass instruments, low-frequency elements become larger than life and more difficult to faithfully reproduce. Basement Jaxx's Scars features copious amounts of low end that ranges from distorted and grimy to unnaturally low. Both can fall apart quickly if the subwoofer isn't up to the task and either fails to produce the lowest frequencies or imparts distortion of its own. The SB13-Ultra had no problem handling the most absurd that this album had to offer. Ed at SVS was patient and helpful as always, and helped me to determine the best way to measure the SB13-Ultra's response. First, we have the near-field response of the subwoofer. This was taken with a Galaxy CM140 meter, about half an inch away from the driver center. There is no smoothing on this graph. In this next measurement, I've overlaid the in-room response from the main listening position. It has 1/12 octave smoothing and no user EQ. At the end of the day, SVS has given us a relatively compact subwoofer that is well finished and performs beyond its stature. While those with exceedingly large rooms will likely opt for a larger ported design like the SVS PB12 Plus or PB13-Ultra for the biggest bang for their buck, those with more refined aesthetics or limited floor space will find that the SB13-Ultra is short on compromises. SVS continues to set the bar for value in each price class that it enters, and the performance sealed category just got some ferocious competition. I highly recommend it.